I don't get rejected.
This is the moment when 27-year-old Estee announced to her 142.3 thousand TikTok followers that she had never, not once in her entire life, been rejected by a man. Estee confidently stated, "I don't get rejected." What she didn't realize was that her own content would soon expose the most devastating series of rejections, leaving her reputation in shambles across the internet. Just months after making this bold claim, Estee would find herself desperately moving cities, changing her entire personality, and creating increasingly unhinged dating content, while her comment sections filled with thousands telling her she's too picky on TikTok.
I went on a date and it's like, it was good.
So yeah, he unmatched me and I was like, what?
But Estee wasn't always this way. She was once in a stable relationship, living her dream life in Amsterdam with her boyfriend. One devastating breakup would transform her into what experts now call a serial dater, someone addicted to the validation of first dates who can never commit to anything long-term.
Serial dating. Apparently, I am a serial dater.
Unfortunately for Estee, her journey from confident girlfriend to desperate serial dater has been documented in really upsetting detail for the entire internet to witness. To understand how Estee became TikTok's most controversial serial dater, we need to examine where it all began. Born into an affluent Toronto family, Estee had everything handed to her on a silver platter. Her mother, a successful criminal lawyer and established artist, provided her financial security most 27-year-olds could only dream of.
Well, you may not like it, but you better learn how, 'cause it's your turn now.
Oh, we said hi, no problems, but it's not what I needed. I'm going through a breakup.
Everlasting love, this will be the one I've waited for.
This privileged upbringing would later become the foundation for what internet users now call her delusional approach to dating and relationships. Despite earning a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University, she chose to pursue a career as a TikTok content creator, focusing primarily on what the internet calls soft thirst traps and dating contents.
I'm going over to my boyfriend's tonight and I told him I would leave around 5 o'clock.
Estee's early TikTok presence revolved around her supposedly perfect relationship with her then-boyfriend in Amsterdam. For months, she documented their European lifestyle, creating content that made thousands of young women jealous of her picture-perfect life.
Head on my shoulder, hold me in your arms.
Like many social media relationships that appear flawless on the surface, cracks were beginning to show behind the scenes. The relationship came to an abrupt end in April 2024, but instead of taking time to heal and process the breakup like most relationship experts recommend, Estee made a decision that would change everything.
No one has made this dramatic of a change yet. No one has made, in my generation, this extreme of a switch.
She decided to get over her ex-boyfriend in just 3 weeks. Posted a video of her saying, "It's been about 3 weeks now. I literally don't care anymore."
It's been about 3 weeks now. I literally don't care anymore.
What happened next revealed the true extent of Estee's inability to handle rejection and her desperate need for male validation. Instead of focusing on personal growth, she immediately threw herself into the dating scene with an intensity that shocked even her most dedicated followers.
I'm on a date, so let's have a drink. A classy drink.
Estee began going on what appeared to be a new first date every few days, documenting each experience for her TikTok audience. Her followers noticed a disturbing pattern. None of these dates ever progressed beyond the first or second meeting.
I'm going on another first date in like 3 minutes. It's a coffee date. There's nothing wrong with a coffee date. I have a date and I have to leave in a few minutes. I wasn't exactly expecting to leave this quickly. I'm going on a date. Let's have some coffee. It's been a long week.
This behavior is what dating experts classify as serial dating, a pattern where individuals become addicted to the validation and excitement of first dates while being unable or unwilling to commit to deeper relationships. Estee's approach came with a controversial twist. She began positioning herself as a dating authority, despite her obvious inability to maintain any relationship beyond a few dates.
So I sent a message like, hey, are we still good for this evening? And he says, oh, work's really busy. Like, what time's your bedtime? Can we meet at this and that? And I'm like, already feeling like no, because I understand, like, I'm not upset with anyone, but for me, going out on a first date, I need to feel like a lot of desire and like desired. And to me, it's like bending over backwards for a guy.
As Estee's dating content gained attention, her comment sections filled with people pointing out obvious contradictions in her approach. Instead of self-reflection, she doubled down with increasingly unrealistic standards for potential partners.
My ex-boyfriend and I broke up before I could give him his birthday gift, so let's open it.
Her ideal man checklist became legendary among TikTok users for its specificity. 6 feet tall, dark hair, mustache or beard, tattoos, funny, creative, thoughtful, emotionally available, ambitious, wealthy, wants children, likes cats, and must be her biggest fan.
I'm honestly a simple woman. I'm just looking for a 6-ish foot, dark-haired, good-haired.
Here's where things get particularly interesting. While Estee claimed to have these high standards, her actual dating behavior told a completely different story. She consistently made exceptions to her own rules whenever she found a man physically attractive. For instance, she claimed she'd never date gym bros and would swipe left immediately on fitness enthusiasts. Yet she later admitted to obsessing over a Toronto fitness influencer simply because she found him attractive. Estee's contradictory behavior extended beyond physical preferences. In what many consider her most desperate move yet, she relocated from Toronto to Montreal specifically because she believed the men there were more her type.
I moved to Montreal because I am happier here, because I like it here.
This decision revealed how completely serial dating had begun controlling her life. She was making major life decisions based on perceived dating opportunities, despite admitting that her type, emotionally unavailable artists, never worked out for her anyway.
My type in men is emotionally unavailable artists. My type in men is emotionally...
What made this move even more controversial was leaving her family in Toronto, the same family she constantly credited for her high self-esteem and confidence. A defining characteristic of Estee's serial dating persona became her adamant claim that she had never been rejected by a man. This statement became the source of endless ridicule in her comment sections.
I don't get rejected.
An audience member commented and said, "I think you should wear what you want. If you single, who cares? Do you, bro?" Estee's definition of rejection seemed to conveniently exclude any situation where she ended things first, regardless of the circumstances. Her own content began contradicting this narrative in increasingly obvious ways.
Which one of you would let your girl post like that? And then he's like, you're never gonna get.
One of the most telling examples of Estee's inability to handle rejection came through what followers dubbed the dispensary incident. She developed what she described as a huge crush on a man who worked at her local cannabis dispensary.
I'm going to the dispensary because I have a huge crush on the guy who sells me.
For weeks, she visited the dispensary to flirt with this employee, even making viral TikTok content about their interactions. When she decided to quit smoking, she suddenly announced the relationship was over because she had no reason to visit anymore.
I have quit smoking weed, so I have zero reason to go to the dispensary anymore. So
followers noticed the convenient timing of this decision. Many speculated that the dispensary employee had shown disinterest, and rather than face potential rejection, Estee created an excuse to exit while maintaining her narrative of never being rejected. This pattern of creating excuses to avoid potential rejection became a recurring theme in Estee's dating content. She would build up interest in various men, then suddenly find reasons why things wouldn't work out, always positioning herself as the decision maker.
There's nothing wrong with a coffee date. I just don't think I've ever been on one for a first date.
Her followers aren't buying it. Comment sections became filled with people calling out the obvious patterns and contradictions in her behavior. One audience commented and said, "Haha, this sounds so awkward. Did you end it or did he? What did you say?" The most revealing moment in Estee's journey came when she admitted to her therapist that she believed she had an addiction to attention. According to Estee, her therapist not only agreed with this assessment, but praised her for the insight.
told my therapist that I think I have an addiction to attention, and not only did he agree, he said,
This confession provided the missing piece of the puzzle. Estee's serial dating wasn't just about finding love or avoiding rejection. It was about feeding a constant need for validation that her privileged upbringing had fostered. By this point, Estee's reputation on social media had taken a dramatic turn. What started as dating content had evolved into what many viewers saw as a cautionary tale about privilege, delusion, and the dangers of seeking validation through dating apps. One audience commented and said, "Yeah, I'm experiencing this with women. I'm offering Uber rides, setting up dates, picking locations, but no luck. Dating is so cringe today. I don't use apps, I rely on social interactions." Her comment sections became battlegrounds where users dissected every aspect of her dating philosophy, pointing out contradictions and calling her out for what they perceived as entitled and unrealistic expectations. One audience commented and said, "Ladies, you are not Uber Eats. You don't show up and deliver him yourself on a platter. Major red flag." Another one says, "Yeah, he doesn't know you. Why would he send an Uber?" Instead of taking this feedback constructively, Estee doubled down on her controversial takes, creating even more content positioning herself as a dating expert despite her obvious struggles.
All circuits are busy. Goodbye, all circuits.
Understanding Estee's behavior requires examining what drives serial dating addiction. According to relationship psychologists, serial daters often share common characteristics: fear of genuine intimacy masked as high standards, addiction to the validation that comes with initial attraction, inability to handle the vulnerability required for deeper connections, and tendency to sabotage relationships before they can fail naturally. This pattern creates a self-perpetuating cycle where the person never has to face real rejection because they never allow relationships to progress to that point. It's a form of emotional self-protection that ultimately prevents any meaningful connections from forming. What makes Estee's situation particularly complex is how social media amplifies and monetizes personal struggles. Her dating addiction became content, her rejections became engagement, and her patterns became entertainment for hundreds of thousands of viewers. This dynamic creates perverse incentives where addressing the underlying issues might actually harm her career as a content creator. The controversy generates views, the drama drives engagement, and the criticism becomes part of the content cycle. Estee's behavior also reflects broader issues with modern dating culture, particularly how dating apps gamify romance. The endless options, the focus on first impressions, and the ease of moving on to the next match all enable serial dating behavior. For someone seeking validation rather than connection, dating apps provide an endless supply of potential ego boosts without requiring the emotional investment that real relationships demand. One fascinating aspect of Estee's story is how her audience became increasingly critical over time. What started as supportive followers evolved into a harsh jury that analyzed her every move and called out her contradictions. This shift demonstrates how social media audiences can turn when they perceive inauthenticity or entitlement. The same platforms that can build someone up can just as quickly tear them down when the narrative changes. So here we are at the heart of Estee's serial dating saga, and the contradictions have become impossible to ignore. This is a woman who claims she wants marriage and serious commitment, yet makes every single decision that sabotages genuine connection.
if someone says, "I want to take you out," then I want to be taken out.
But here's what's really happening behind the scenes. Estee's privileged background has created a massive blind spot to modern dating reality. While most people her age are struggling with career instability, student debt, and just finding a decent place to live, she approaches dating like it's a hobby rather than a genuine search for partnership.
I want a gentleman. So I was talking to my mom today.
This isn't just about one woman's dating struggles anymore. It's about how social media has completely distorted our approach to relationships, turning intimate human connections into content opportunities. Here's the thing that nobody wants to acknowledge. Serial daters like Estee are actually incentivized to stay single. Their dating content generates way more engagement than relationship content ever could. The algorithm rewards drama, confusion, and controversy, not healthy, stable relationships. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a viral TikTok about someone being in a happy, drama-free relationship? Exactly. The business model of dating content requires constant failure. Unfortunately for Estee, her documented approach to dating has created a reputation that's actually working against her stated goals. Men who might genuinely be interested in long-term commitment are seeing her track record and running in the opposite direction.
Estee, that shows you the bar is low for him.
The most troubling part, her family's love and financial support, while positive in many ways, have shielded her from the kind of rejection and struggle that builds realistic expectations and emotional resilience. It's a privilege to create delusions in real time. From Estee's own notes, you can see she's developed complex ways to protect herself from being rejected. The dispensary incident perfectly illustrates this pattern. When faced with potential rejection, she creates elaborate justifications for why she's the one ending things.
I have quit smoking weed, so I have zero reason to go to the dispensary anymore.
But the timing reveals everything. Her followers weren't fooled by the convenient excuse, and the comments became a masterclass in pattern recognition. People started documenting how she'd build up interest in various men. One audience commented and said, "So you've been having a crush before you was single?" This behavior represents what psychologists call preemptive rejection, ending potential relationships before they can naturally conclude, maintaining the illusion of always being in control. The most telling example of Estee's inability to process rejection came through what her audience dubbed Mr. Blocker. This incident exposed the fundamental contradiction in her entire dating philosophy.
I'm done giving guys that I meet on Hinge my Instagram. They all ask for it for some reason, but this one guy, we exchanged some messages and he asked for my Instagram. I was like, sure, whatever. He was asking when I was free and I said Saturday. So I'm like, okay, maybe we'll hang out on Saturday. We didn't make any concrete plans or anything. It's not even Saturday yet. But he's looking at all my Instagram stories. I don't really know this person, so I don't love the idea of someone I don't know, but I might go out with, like, looking at my stuff. Either way, our conversation was totally normal, like bland even, just because I don't, we were gonna go out tomorrow. I go on Hinge today and he unmatched me. Trying this today, haven't used them yet, but I've had them sitting on my desk forever. So yeah, he unmatched me and I was like, what? So I go to my Instagram because he was looking at all my following me, everything, whatever. And of course he unfollowed me. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm curious, right? So I go to look in my following.
Here's what happened. A photographer on Hinge seemed interested, asked for her Instagram, and was engaged with her content. Then suddenly he unmatched and blocked her across all platforms. Estee's response revealed everything about her relationship with rejection.
He blocked me. He blocked me. I don't know why. And I don't think it's because, I post pictures of my butt, okay?
The answer was obvious to anyone who understands dating apps in the social media age. Mr. Blocker did exactly what any reasonable person would do. He researched his potential date and discovered her extensive catalog of serial dating content. Here's the irony. This man worked with naked women as a photographer, yet found Estee's dating content concerning enough to completely block her. This wasn't about her appearance, it was about recognizing someone who treats dating like content creation. An audience commented and said, "Maybe he saw something he didn't like. It's not about you, babe. I always think when things like that happen, it's like the universe helping you. Because think, if he is so superficial like that." Instead of self-reflection, Estee's response was to diagnose Mr. Blocker with mental illness for what she called softcore rejection. This reaction perfectly encapsulated her entire approach to dating disappointments.
One that you want to unmatch on a dating app? I don't know what to tell you.
Mr. Blocker wasn't isolated. Soon after, another situation emerged that further exposed her inability to handle even mild disinterest. This time, a man from Hinge who'd asked to follow her Instagram later unfollowed when their potential Montreal meetup became unlikely.
A guy that I was talking to on Hinge, he asked to follow me on Instagram, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'm not gonna be in Montreal for a while. Maybe we'll meet up there, sure. We're chatting a little bit, but not very much. But to me, yeah, I'm like, maybe we'll meet up in Montreal, whatever.
What made this revealing was Estee's own admission that she wasn't even interested in this man. She explicitly stated he wasn't very good looking and not really my type. Yet his simple act of unfollowing warranted a full TikTok publicly berating his appearance.
One, he wasn't very good looking, okay? To me, he's fine looking, but not really my type. But to unfollow me.
This perfectly illustrated the psychology of someone who needs constant validation. Even from men she doesn't want, Estee requires continued attention. The moment that attention is withdrawn for perfectly reasonable reasons, it triggers a defensive response. The contradiction was striking. Someone who claimed to have high standards was offended when others exercised those same rights. Perhaps the most psychologically revealing content was Estee's video about Patrick, a boy from middle school who once asked why her arms were so hairy. This childhood incident became the foundation for decades-long resentment. The video showed adult Estee celebrating Patrick's hair loss, essentially mocking a man for something that happened when they were both children. Viewers recognize this as the behavior of someone who cannot process rejection or criticism, no matter how minor or long ago.
So in middle school, a boy named Patrick asked me why my arms were so hairy, and at the time it made me a little insecure. But see, as an adult, I realized I'm gonna have this hair forever.
The disproportion was obvious. A child's innocent, if tactless, question about body hair had been transformed in Estee's mind into a grave injustice worthy of adult revenge. This kind of scorekeeping is classic rejection sensitivity behavior. The Patrick incident also revealed Estee's fundamental hypocrisy about body commentary. She frequently made content about how abnormal it was for people to comment on her body, yet felt justified in mocking Patrick's appearance decades later. Central to Estee's rejection denial system was her frequently repeated claim that men always come back. This became her catch-all explanation for why being rejected didn't really count as rejection.
Men always come back, okay? But they come back when you don't give a shit anymore.
According to Estee's logic, even if a man initially rejected her, the fact that some men might reach out again later meant she was never truly rejected in the first place. This reasoning allowed her to maintain her narrative while ignoring obvious reality.
So years ago, I had gone on some dates with a guy and I thought it was going well, and then he gave me some books to read, like Infinite Jest, corny ass.
What this philosophy really revealed was someone who couldn't accept the natural ebb and flow of dating. The idea that someone might not be interested initially, then change their mind later, is normal human behavior. But for Estee, it became evidence of immunity to rejection. This belief system created another problem. It prevented her from escaping closure. Instead of moving on when someone wasn't interested, she'd wait for their inevitable return, keeping herself emotionally unavailable for genuine connections. No single incident exposed Estee's problematic dating approach more than the 50-50 date controversy. This became her most viral content and simultaneously her most criticized.
I just finished my date. I'm walking home now. It was very lovely. He was so social.
The facts were straightforward. She went on a date with a man who asked for separate bills. She confronted him, he apologized and promised to pay next time, then he ghosted after she texted him. Estee's interpretation and response revealed layers of entitlement and delusion.
The bill came. The bill didn't come. He asked for the bill. And in French, he said 2 bills.
What made this particularly problematic was that by Estee's own admission, the date had been good. The man hadn't been rude, inappropriate, or disrespectful. His only crime was not assuming he should pay for someone he'd just met. The fact that he'd apologized and promised to pay next time when she explained her expectations actually suggested someone considerate and willing to accommodate her preferences. Yet this wasn't enough. The mere fact that he hadn't known her expectations beforehand was treated as a moral failing. The 50-50 controversy led to an even deeper contradiction in Estee's dating philosophy. She began making content about wanting a gentleman while simultaneously admitting she didn't know what that meant.
I'm trying to break out of some habits here, okay? And I want a gentleman. So I was talking to my mom today.
This admission was more revealing than she realized. Wanting a gentleman while pursuing emotionally unavailable artists on dating apps represented a fundamental mismatch between stated goals and actual behavior. The concept of wanting to attract a gentleman while positioning herself as the opposite became a source of endless commentary. Her response to 50-50 criticism was posting thirst traps and giving her audience the middle finger, behaviors that directly contradicted her stated desire for traditional courtship.
And we're both visiting LA. He asks, do you want to get a drink tonight? And I say, sure, sounds great. He asks, what area are you staying in? I'll find a nice place.
This revealed someone who wanted the benefits of traditional gender roles without accepting corresponding expectations. She wanted to be pursued and paid for like a traditional woman while maintaining complete modern autonomy and sexual expression. Perhaps the most problematic aspect of Estee's 50-50 defense was her argument about women's emotional labor justifying men paying for dates. While emotional labor is undervalued in society, applying this concept to first dates revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of relationships. Emotional labor refers to work required to maintain long-term relationships, managing household schedules, remembering important dates, mediating family conflicts, and providing emotional support. These develop over months and years of committed partnership.
Not even like, I get emotional when I feel lonely, okay? Especially when I feel lonely in like the dating life. I don't know,
For someone who exclusively goes on first dates and never develops long-term relationships, claiming to perform emotional labor was both inaccurate and revealing. It showed someone who'd learned feminist terminology but didn't understand its application. This misunderstanding revealed something deeper about Estee's approach. She expected the benefits and consideration that come with established relationships while offering only first-date investment levels. What emerged from the 50-50 controversy was Estee's pattern of blaming external factors rather than examining her own behavior. Instead of recognizing she might be looking for the wrong things in the wrong places, she doubled down on criticizing the degeneracy of modern dating.
Here's my rant for the evening, okay? Some of you do not think critically, okay? 1,
The irony was palpable. Someone complaining about others' lack of critical thinking while simultaneously refusing to critically examine her own patterns. She'd blame dating apps, blame men, blame society, anything except her own approach. This deflection served an important psychological purpose. Accepting responsibility for her dating failures would require acknowledging that she had been rejected, which would collapse her entire self-constructed narrative. Here's where it gets even more complicated. Estee's attention addiction was supercharged by her career as a content creator. Her dating failures actually generated more engagement than relationship success ever would. The algorithm rewards drama, confusion, and controversy. A happy, stable relationship doesn't generate the same level of engagement as a series of dating disasters and hot takes about modern romance. This created a twisted situation where staying single and controversial was literally more profitable than finding genuine happiness. Every failed date became content. Every rejection became a video. Every controversial take became revenue. She was financially incentivized to remain in the exact psychological state that was making her miserable.
I am going on a date, so let's make a drink. I'm back. I'm home. I'm sitting on the ground, petting my kitty cat.
What made things even worse was how differently her content was received on different platforms. On TikTok, her primary young female audience would "you're doing great" her most problematic takes, while YouTube comments provided harsh but often accurate criticism. An audience on YouTube commented, "Honestly, I pay for all my dates, that's standard, but your entitled attitude would make me not want to pay." This echo chamber effect on TikTok reinforced her delusions and prevented any necessary self-reflection. When hundreds of comments validate your problematic behaviors, it becomes really easy to dismiss criticism as jealousy or misogyny. The demographic differences between platforms created completely different feedback loops. TikTok's younger, more female audience supported her regardless of behavior, while YouTube's more diverse demographic provided balanced, if brutal, reality checks. Here's what made Estee's content so interesting: her apparent vulnerability and honesty about her dating experiences. But look closer and you'll see this vulnerability was carefully curated and performed rather than genuine.
I just had a date and we had a very nice time.
Real vulnerability involves acknowledging mistakes, accepting responsibility for patterns, and showing genuine growth from criticism. Instead, Estee's honesty was selective. She'd share dating disasters but never acknowledged her role in creating them.
I was supposed to go for drinks with a guy today, and he never confirmed. So at like 3 p.m. today.
This vulnerability was extremely effective at generating sympathy and engagement. Viewers felt they were seeing someone being real when they were actually seeing a carefully constructed persona designed to maximize attention while avoiding accountability. An audience member commented and said, "Maybe the T-ism, but I never understood this. Once we agree on a specific time and place, it's a done deal to me. If you're still unsure, then just ask me. Not a big deal to ask for clarification." When you analyze Estee's entire dating catalog, a clear pattern emerges. She consistently sabotaged any situation that might develop into something real. Every time things could progress, she'd find reasons to end it or ways to ensure it couldn't continue.
The guy asked for my name and I said no because I thought he asked if I wanted the receipt.
The dispensary worker became impossible to see once she quit smoking. Dating app matches were rejected for superficial reasons or scared away by her online presence. The standards became so impossibly specific that no real human could meet them.
I have quit smoking weed, so I have zero reason to go to the dispensary anymore. So that is over. But I wish him all the best.
This self-sabotage served an important psychological function. It protected her from the vulnerability required for genuine intimacy, while allowing her to maintain her narrative of being the victim of an inadequate dating pool. Estee's situation is complicated by her status as a content creator. The rise of dating content as a profitable genre has created twisted incentives where relationship failure becomes more valuable than relationship success.
Like, why would I want to date someone who hasn't confirmed a plan with me that day, you know?
Dating influencers are financially motivated to remain single and dramatic. A stable, happy relationship doesn't generate the same engagement as constant dating disasters and controversial takes about modern romance.
Dating Maddie has officially entered the chat. Yes, I am going on another date tonight, and this is not the guy that I went on the last date with.
This creates a trap where the very people giving dating advice are the least qualified to do so, having monetized their inability to form lasting connections. It's like taking financial advice from someone who's professionally bankrupt. Estee's story highlights how privilege can become a disadvantage in modern dating. Her financial security and family support, while positive in many ways, have disconnected her from the realities that most people her age understand. Men looking for serious relationships often value partners who understand struggle, responsibility, and the realities of building a life together. Estee's privileged bubble has left her treating dating like shopping for accessories rather than seeking genuine partnership. Estee's approach reveals problematic dynamics in modern dating discourse. She wants traditional male behavior, paying, pursuing, protecting, while maintaining complete modern female autonomy. This best of both worlds mentality creates impossible expectations.
For a 6-ish foot, dark-haired, good-haired, mustache or bearded man, maybe with tattoos.
This approach is increasingly common among young women who've been told they can have it all without learning that relationships require mutual compromise and consideration. Examining Estee's behavior reveals how it reflects broader mental health crisis affecting her generation. The combination of social media addiction, delayed adulting, and economic privilege has created a perfect storm of psychological dysfunction. Her attention addiction, rejection sensitivity, and inability to form lasting connections are symptoms of deeper issues. They reflect someone who never learned to self-soothe, handle disappointment, or find fulfillment through internal rather than external sources.
Aware of my life, that they had to have been following me for a long time.
Instead of addressing these underlying issues, social media provides endless opportunities to avoid growth while maintaining the illusion of self-awareness and authenticity. As we wrap up this deep dive into Estee's serial dating journey, the ultimate irony becomes crystal clear. In her desperate attempt to avoid rejection, she has created a life entirely defined by it.
I was supposed to go on a first date last night, but I didn't end up going because he was going to be really late.
Every relationship ends, every connection fails, every potential partnership dissolves, yet she maintains that she's never been rejected. This self-deception comes at a tremendous cost. At 27, she has achieved neither the serious relationship she claims to want nor the genuine self-confidence she performs. Instead, she's built a career around documenting her own dysfunction. Estee's story provides valuable lessons for anyone navigating modern dating. Her extreme case highlights problems that exist on smaller scales in countless other lives, pursuing validation over connection, fearing vulnerability, using impossible standards as protection from intimacy.
Some people say that a guy or whoever won't like you because you're posting
Her journey demonstrates how privilege without struggle, attention without accountability, and confidence without competence create a perfect recipe for romantic failure.
How do people do that? Because I don't have the attention span.
Estee's story isn't over. At 27, she still has time for growth, self-reflection, and genuine change. But that change would require stepping away from the social media validation that currently defines her life and confronting uncomfortable truths about her own behavior.
Because I'm a 27-year-old fucking woman.
The question remains whether someone so invested in their own narrative can develop the humility and self-awareness required for genuine personal growth. Based on current patterns, significant change seems unlikely without major external intervention. Ultimately, Estee's story serves as a warning about the dangers of social media culture, privilege without responsibility, and the pursuit of attention over authentic connection. She's become a cautionary tale for an entire generation struggling with similar issues. Her journey from confident girlfriend to desperate serial dater, all documented for public consumption, represents the ultimate price of turning your personal life into content. In trying to monetize her dysfunction, she's trapped herself within it.
Make breakfast with me while my boyfriend is out of town. In other words, I'm lazy this weekend.
Head on my shoulder.
The story of TikTok's most delusional serial dater continues, but the patterns are clear. Until fundamental changes occur in how she approaches relationships, validation, and self-reflection, Estee will likely remain exactly where she is, single, searching, and convinced that the problem lies everywhere except within herself.
I'm going on a date, so let's have a drink.
What do you think? Have you seen similar patterns in your own social media feeds or dating experiences? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into social media psychology and modern dating culture.